coming in right now. In terms of the voting percentage, the third phase of election has concluded, and many would suggest if you look back on elections 2024, it would be the third phase which would prove to be the decisive phase. As of now, half of India has already voted. 50% of the Lok Sabha election, Lok Sabha seats have already cast their vote. Let's quickly dip into the voter turnout. At 5 p.m., the voter turnout reached 60% across 11 states and 1 union territory. Highest voter turnout recorded in the state of Assam. Lowest voter turnout recorded in Maharashtra at 53%, while Assam recorded a 74.86%. Gujarat also voted in a single phase today. Let's break it down. Karnataka stood at 66.05%, Madhya Pradesh 62.28%, Maharashtra 53.40%, Uttar Pradesh 55.13%, West Bengal 73.93%. I want to quickly cut across to my colleague Maushmi joining us from Madhya Pradesh. Important big fights, this time around. Maushmi, voting percentage, Madhya Pradesh was extremely low this time around, is what is being reported. What are you picking up from MP? Big fights there that voted. You are in Guna. Jyotiraditya Scindia, first time fighting on a BJP ticket. When he fought on a Congress, he'd lost. And also the neighbouring constituency of Rajgarh. Digvijay fighting his last election from Congress.
Right, Preeti. The Gwalior-Chambal region, almost 9 seats in and around this area went to the polls. It's extremely hot. The temperatures are crossing 41 degrees Celsius. And, there's about 62.28% voting in Madhya Pradesh. Last time round, Guna had reported almost 70% of voting. So there is a dip in voter percentage even in Madhya Pradesh, though it's not the lowest. If you look at the array of lowest states that have shown a very low percentage, but 3 bigwigs were contesting and were in the fray, from Vidisha Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Jyotiraditya Scindia, and of course Digvijay Singh. And perhaps the parties were hoping that the voter turnout would pick up from phase 3, considering the fact that now on the phases are strongholds of the BJP, where the BJP in the last 3-4 phases did extremely well. It will be a very, very catch-22 situation as to what actually this low voter turnout really depicts. Does it impact the opposition, or does it, one generally believes is a low voter turnout is actually disadvantageous to the ruling party? That's the question that everybody would want to find an answer to.
All right, appreciate you joining us, Maushmi, with the latest coming in from Madhya Pradesh. But let's get you the final voter turnout that has just come in. Overall voting percentage has just come in, 60.92%. I'm going to, break it down for our viewers. Of course, there will be an addition of a couple of percentages, but this is what the baseline figure is going to be, viewers. At overall voting percentage in the third phase stands at 60.92%. Assam at the highest, recording 75.01%. Assam remains the highest. The lowest is the state of Maharashtra, recording 53.95%. Bihar 56.50%. You have Goa 74%. Gujarat 56.12%. Last time it was well above 65%. The state of Uttar Pradesh has folded at 57.03%. Maharashtra, like I said, the lowest. The highest coming in from the state of Assam. Very close to Assam is the state of West Bengal, that has voted 73.93%. Joining me, Rajat Sethi, political analyst. Rajat Sethi, the third first phase, many looking at being the decisive phase, especially for the Bharatiya Janata Party.
I agree. I think, Preeti ji, the way, the first 2 phases have largely concentrated on seats which, where the incumbent BJP government has been rather weak on. It is the third phase whereon the Hindi heartland seats action kicks in. And the third phase, fourth phase, and fifth phase, these are three important phases for the BJP. How good it does in setting the agenda, setting the narrative, and in enthusing the voters to come out and vote in aggressive numbers is going to be BJP's game plan going forward. And again, we've discussed this in the phase 1 and 2. Even phase 3 has seen subdued voting so far. There have been at least 3 to 4 percentage points lower than what we saw in 2019. However, with the caveat that 2019 was an absolute outlier year when it comes to polling percentages. Polling percentages were way through the roof in 2019, not even in 2014. So I think outliers cannot be benchmarks. We should keep a more sort of a sensible approach towards voting percentages, where 2014 could give us a good sort of a glimpse on that.
Right. All right. Well, the third phase was said to be the deciding phase, many would suggest. 50% of the Lok Sabha constituencies would have gone to vote this time around. Joining me also is T.S. Sudhir, giving us the Karnataka perspective. Karnataka, all of Karnataka has voted. T.S. Sudhir, what's your perspective? Impressive voting percentage, but the South always comes out way better to vote than the North.
Well, both the BJP and the Congress would look at this phase because this is a region where the BJP did exceedingly well, both in 2014 and definitely in 2019 when it swept the entire set of 14 seats. So the Congress would want to make a dent in that. And what is interesting, Preeti, is that this is a part of Karnataka where you cannot have one issue which is going to dominate. Each constituency, each district, each region actually has voted on very different sets of issues. So if the issues in the Kittur Karnataka, the Bombay Karnataka region are to do with drinking water, water for irrigation, the issues in the Hyderabad Karnataka region, the Kalyani Karnataka region are to do more with backwardness and lack of development. So here, the Ahinda card is what the Congress has played, while the Lingayat card is what the BJP would have hoped would do well for it as far as the Bombay Karnataka region is concerned. So in that sense, a pretty diverse set of issues playing out in this part of Karnataka. The Congress wanted to play on the Prajwal Revanna issue, but not too sure about how well it has actually played out as an issue for voters to vote on, given the fact that the JDS is not really a factor as far as this part of Karnataka is concerned. The BJP, on the other hand, focusing on the Neha issue, hoping that would kind of polarize it, at least in the Bombay Karnataka region. So as I said, different sets of issues, and the Congress would hope that given the fact that it has also fielded Lingayats, they would hope that they would be able to split the Lingayat vote bank to an extent. They would hope to do a little much better than what it did in 2019.
All right. Rajat Sethi, I want to bring you back into this conversation. We're not delving into the voting percentage so much because, all right, we have Ashutosh as well. Let me bring in Ashutosh. He hasn't had a word in. Ashutosh, not looking at the voting percentage, but I think one thing across any divide, one would concur that the third phase was extremely important if 2024 Lok Sabha elections are being looked at.
See, Preeti, I think this is the third consecutive phase in which we find that there is a dip in the voting percentage. The dip in the voting percentage clearly underlines the fact that the voter somehow is not enthused about this parliamentary election, which is really surprising. Because if you look at the data in the last 20 years, there has been a consistent rise into the vote percentage. If the voter is not coming, if he is not casting his vote, so that means he is somewhere disappointed. He is not happy the way things are going on, and that's one reason that now the entire campaign has shifted from the 10 years of achievement of the government to on the divisive issues like about the reservation, about the constitution, about Hindu-Muslim divide. That is so in my opinion, because the voter is not enthused, not happy, so you bring these issues to emotionally charge your voter.
All right, to emotionally charge your voter, I want to, bring in Rajat Sethi into this conversation. Rajat Sethi, the difference, of course, would come in how one reads the voting percentage. But one thing is very clear, that the voter is not enthused, whichever side of the divide he might be at. But where you look at the third phase per se, how important is it for the BJP in this particular phase to score or at least hold on to what they did in 2019?
See, I think as I said earlier as well, phase 3, phase 4 and phase 5, they are the bedrock of BJP's mandate. Even earlier, they had roughly around 75 to 80% seats which were won by BJP in these phases. So I think BJP's rank and file has had enough warm-up. Now they will have to really put the efforts and try and match what has happened in 2019 in terms of seat conversion. On the ground, the signals that I'm getting, I don't see BJP's organization getting weakened or not having that enthusiasm anywhere. I was in Baramati, which apparently conceded way lower percentage polling. It was barely 50%. And in 2019, it was 62%. It was a much more heatedly contested election this time because of Ajit Pawar versus Sharad Pawar. And yet the polling was low. I think there is environmental reasons. Just the heat is too high. And this is the reason why voters who are willing to come out and vote, it is the heat which is bothering. Other than that, I don't see this election not being important, not being relevant, etc., etc. Those narratives I don't fall for. And if at all, if one were to parse forcefully, you can also make the argument that since BJP is well within a comfortable margin of victory, it's the opponents who are not too keen to draw in their voters and do the spending that is required to actually draw voters down on the D-Day. That could possibly be the reason if I were to really look deep dive into the voting percentages.
Before I bring in T.S. Sudhir into this conversation, Ashutosh, I want to just to weigh in on it. Yes, the third phase very important for the Bharatiya Janata Party, but it could practically be the turning point if one does look back on elections 2024. It's very important, especially if you look at the seats which are going to vote in Uttar Pradesh which is now was at one point the guard of the Samajwadi Party or the bastion of the Samajwadi Party, to bolster on that, to push on that. And where Gujarat is concerned, a complete sweep, Madhya Pradesh, important for the Gadbandhan as well.
See, Preeti, I think for the BJP is a national party. It's a government at the center. So every election for them is very, very important. It's not that the BJP takes any election very lightly. It never does that. At least I've been watching since 2014 onwards. So BJP takes every election. From my opinion, first to seventh phase, BJP will try to do its best. But the fact is that this has to be analyzed, this has to be understood, why there is so much indifference. And there is a certain unease in the BJP. And I'm repeating again, there is certain unease in the BJP, and that is why the campaign focus has shifted. This is one election. I've very keenly, I've written a book on the 2014 parliamentary election. I've referred in my second book in 2019 election, and I can tell you that this kind of divisive slogans were not so much in bulk in either of these two elections. This is a novelty here, and why this is happening? This is happening because BJP has failed to create a national narrative, which has been the strong point of the BJP. In 2014, you look at anywhere, and it was written very well that how the BJP has campaigned. It was very, very novel in that. In 2019, the Pulwama was there, so the nationalism was at its peak.
I want to bring in T.S. Sudhir, away from, but T.S. Sudhir, many would say this time around, it's not a wave election like 2019 or that promise of Achhe Din of 2014. It's a normal, regular election. If you go by figures of 2009 or, the year before, it would seemingly suggest the same. Are you witnessing or picking up the same trend in the South?
Well, I agree with Rajat that 2019 was an outlier election. You can't really compare it with that. 2014 or the years before that, like 2009 or 2004, would probably be more reasonable comparisons to make. But yes, this is definitely not a wave election, which is why when you travel, you also find the issues changing from constituency to constituency, district to district. What may work for a particular party in a particular constituency may not work at all, may not be an issue at all in the neighboring constituency. One thing I just want to think aloud, and probably Rajat and Ashutosh can also react. The fact that, and I've been seeing it in public meetings, both in Telangana and Andhra, when you see such humongous crowds where there is not an inch to stand on, whether it be for Jagan Mohan Reddy or Chandrababu Naidu or Pawan Kalyan or Revanth Reddy, you find such huge crowds. Now the crowds are all coming. Now you may argue that they're coming because there has been some payment made, but the crowds are definitely coming even for a 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock kind of meeting. But the same vote percentage drops when it comes to polling day. Now, I don't know how it will play out in a state like Telangana and Andhra on the 13th of May. But that's something which has always intrigued me, that why is it that people are coming in for a 3 o'clock meeting when the sun is at its peak, 45, 46 degrees temperature, but then the voting percentage probably in the same constituency also drops.
But T.S. Sudhir, are you seeing it? But is that an observation cutting across party lines?
Cutting across party lines, which is why I mentioned all the parties. Cutting across party lines, you are seeing huge crowds coming. So there is enthusiasm for the election rhetoric, for the political campaigning, for all the narrative that is being built by all the political parties. But again, we are seeing across all the three phases, the voting percentage is dropping, which is rather strange. So it may not just be the heat factor at play. It may not just be the heat factor at play, but perhaps the different political parties are not able to do that last mile connection, getting in those reluctant voters on D-Day to come out and vote.
Okay. Rajat Sethi, you want to weigh in on it? Will it ultimately now come down to which Sangathan is stronger on the ground level, who has a better network of pulling out their voters to the voting booths?
100%. I think, we are reading far too much in the 2 to 3% lower polling. Let's leave it over there. As I said, 29, do not compare it with 2019. It was an outlier year. The polling saw, because of an emotional sentiment around Pulwama issue, the polling was relatively higher, but it doesn't mean that 3% lower polling is going to swing fortunes for the Congress party. People who want to live in that wishful thinking and continue doing so. Because at the end of the day, you need to have that extra special excitement to come in and vote for the Congress party. Where is that? Where is that emotional wave of anti-incumbency supporting the Congress, catapulting its fortunes, going past the mark from where they were at 50 seats? They need to go to 270 seats. How on earth is it possible? Therefore, in this 2 and 3%, we are nitpicking. You should leave these voting percentages aside and look at the organizational might of both the parties. You can, it doesn't require too much of psephological understanding to see how are the tables being managed outside the booth. Where are enough workers on the tables, enough workers among the people to pull the crowds? How are people manning those tables and manning the poll booths? You'll get a fair sense of it.
Fair enough, but Ashutosh, he has a point, because if you look at a strong network on ground, the Sangathan is definitely with the Bharatiya Janata Party and not with the Gathbandhan. So even if the polling percentage is a couple of percentages less than what ideally it should be, it could very well be advantage BJP.
Preeti, I'm not discounting what the Rajat is saying, but the fact is that BJP has been organizationally strong, it suddenly doesn't have become too strong today. BJP has been organizationally very strong, and it's not one layer organization. It is a multiple layers are there. RSS organization is there, Vishnu Hindu Parishad is there, Bajrang Dal is there, BJP is there, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad is there, Mazdoor Sabha is there, Kisan Sangathan everywhere. So it has multiple layers. So it's not that suddenly it has become too powerful in terms of, yes, there is efficiency, a certain increase, no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is that today, what I perceive and what I got to know while interacting with the many BJP leaders and the RSS leaders, that there is a definite unease even within the RSS and the BJP. That's, if anybody is denying that, one is free to do that. But I, as a reporter, I know for a fact that there is a definite unease. And for the two reasons. One reason they're citing it, that the BJP has become too arrogant. The leaders has become too arrogant, and they're taking everything for granted. Two, they are also saying that look at the kind of people that had been admitted in the party. And we have all our life, we have opposed them, condemned them, criticized them, abused them, but today we have to campaign for them. So look at the plight of the workers. Who has to support or who has to campaign for those who had suddenly drifted from the Congress or to other political parties to here? That a day before he was campaigning, he was saying that this person should be jailed, and now suddenly you find them campaigning for them.
Okay. All right. Okay. With that, I've run terribly short of time. We're going to end it there. But it's a wrap for the phase 3 polling. Now the focus on phase 4. Trust us to get you the latest. We, by the way, are in West Bengal in the constituency, which is now a hot seat, Krishna Nagar. We'll get you more. Stay with us.
Thank you.